What's going on, people? Today I am talking about The Punisher Warzone in 4K Ultra HD, and I got that coming up for you next. So if you haven't noticed, I still got my Punisher shirt on, and that is because I am still talking about Punisher films, because I love The Punisher, and today we are getting into The Punisher Warzone in 4K Ultra HD. This movie starts off really spectacularly with the best action scene in the whole movie. Ray Stevenson is just a more harder and more grizzled Punisher, and it shows. He's kicking off people's heads and they're rolling off their bodies. He's shooting people up. He is actually wearing Kevlar with the Punisher logo on it this time around. He is just a badass, and even though as far as a performance goes, I don't like this as much as the Thomas Jane performance. I do feel like the characterization of the Punisher here is a little bit more true to where he is in the comics now, as in today. And unfortunately, that is just for that one scene. Because this movie takes this character and twists it in a way that I can't abide by. Listen, if the Punisher killed an innocent, he would finish his mission and then kill himself. Put the gun to his head and kill himself. That is just the Punisher's way. He is that detached from reality. This movie takes this character and puts him in such a light that now he is not the Punisher in my mind. This is just another character that isn't the Punisher, because I can't take him as the Punisher because of something that he does in this movie, and it just gets worse and worse as it goes on. And if you thought there was weird tonal shifts in 2004's Punisher film, this movie just takes it and just ramps that up. There is a point in this movie where it just gets cartoonish, and that is when the introduction of Jigsaw comes in. And man, this character and the characterization here by Dominic West is horrendous. There are scenes here straight up stolen from 2009's Batman. And I mean straight up stolen. Look at the Joker origin and look at Jigsaw's origin here. It's complete theft. And it's not meant to be a satire. It's just meant to be ripped off. This movie has always bugged me. I get some enjoyment out of watching it. I do kind of like the over-the-top action here and how they amp it up. I mean, there's a part where the Punisher just straight up caves a dude's head in. It's cool. But what they do with the characters here, I cannot abide by, and the tones here. And that is why I have to give this movie a 4 out of 10. I feel like I'm being generous, but I have to admit that I do like watching this from time to time. And getting into the video quality of Punisher Warzone, this movie is actually so recent that it actually had a 2K digital intermediate when it was first released, so they just kept that 2K digital intermediate and upscaled it to 4K, and with that they also gave this the same Dolby Vision that they gave the 2004 Punisher film. And I will say that right off the top, you notice that the Dolby Vision here and the HDR leaves this a little curious as far as skin tones are concerned, and as far as how washed out this palette gets. There are some scenes where the HDR and the Dolby Vision really give this movie the punch that it deserves, like in the opening action scene that is truly awesome in every way, and I feel like there is less bleeding of the harsh reds and all of the shadow detail that goes into that scene. But when you look at other scenes like the funeral for the fallen cop, every single person's facial tones are just so washed out, and I feel like that is just the product of a movie that is already overly stylized, and then when you try to add in HDR and Dolby Vision and amp that up, I feel like some of the scenes suffer from that, and this is one of them. And there are quite a few that happen throughout the film. I feel like a lot of the night scenes just have this saturated, overly sharpened look to them that feels unnatural, to say the least, and that has to do with this HDR and Dolby Vision. But there is an upgraded sharpness to this movie in other scenes that I actually do really like, and a lot of the close-ups here do add a level of detail that wasn't on that Blu-ray. That was a good-looking Blu-ray, as it was, but this definitely turns that up a notch, and I feel like as far as an overall transfer, despite some scenes being more washed out because of the HDR and the Dolby Vision and the stylized nature of this film, I feel like this is still an 8 out of 10. There is some really good qualities to this that really pack a punch, but you do have to suffer from inconsistencies. And getting into the audio here, this was already a great audio track as it was on the Blu-ray, but when you add in Dolby Atmos, you get something that is just amped up. You have a lot more to play with than the 2004 Punisher film, and this movie rightfully does. You get a lot of the score coming from the height speakers, and you get a lot of the bloody violence coming through as well. I heard some splatter coming through the height speakers, which is always awesome. And at that scene where he goes on the chandelier and he, does the two guns, I really liked how that was displayed over the height speakers as well. This is a more wider and more expansive and just an overall more engaging mix. Surrounds are not kicked up from that older mix just because they were pretty heavy as it was, but they aren't really decreased here as well, and I just feel like I really like this mix. It's not reference quality, but it is the next best thing for me. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And when you're getting into the digital copy here, this is the standard Lionsgate shenanigans where they want you to go to their website to redeem the copy of the film, and then you will be able to access on iTunes the high definition copy and not the 4K copy. But getting into the special features here, you do get all of the special features that were on that Blu-ray on this 4K disc. So that means that entails the audio commentary with Lexi Alexander about the film, because she was the director here. And she generally has a lot to say, and it just proves that a lot of my complaints about this movie really rely on her, because she pretty much puts it all on herself when you listen to this interview. And then when you get into the featurettes, you get a featurette that goes into the Punisher's guns, and that's cool. And you get into the introduction to Jigsaw himself and who he was from the comic and how he relates to this movie. You get a very short featurette that goes into the making of this movie, and there is also one that goes into just the gore effects here, along with Lionsgate theatrical trailers. There's a decent amount here. I would say it is about the same on average to the Punisher 2004. And for that, I'm going to give it the same grade of a 7 out of 10, with the caveat that I actually really do like the fact that Lionsgate puts everything on the 4K disc, and I just want to say that I generally appreciate that. While this is a movie that sometimes I enjoy coming back to, I have problems with it. I have problems with the characterization of the Punisher after the opening action scene, and I really don't like where this movie wants to take him, and I generally don't like the tone of this movie. It's goofy, it's slapstick, and it doesn't get the balance right, and this movie feels really, really, really unbalanced. And yeah, even though I do like just how Ray Stevenson looks as the Punisher, his acting isn't as good as Thomas Jane was. And when you add up all my scores for the Punisher Warzone in 4K Ultra HD, you come out to a 28 out of 40. And that is largely because of the fact that I didn't really like the movie all that much when it came down to it. If you like this movie, though, this is worth getting picked up just for the audio track. I do feel like it is a large upgrade. And hey, you get the same special features on that 4K disc, and that is always a good thing. So next, I am getting into Solo. I'm going to be filming that really soon, along with the first 3 X-Men films that just came out in 4K as well. And hey, I'm going to be coming to you guys a lot this week, so subscribe so you know when those videos come out. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome, and I don't even have to say it because you know you're awesome. And I will see all of you next time.